Alright, welcome back to the workshop, Handyman. We are going to work on getting the springtime equipment ready to go. It's starting to warm up. We've got a beautiful day out here today. So we're going to go ahead and start with getting my tractor ready to go. I like to get everything, go through, change oils and whatever on all of them. This is my little Kubota I run. We've pulled it around the front. This is an L2800. I got this back brand new in, let's see, 2007, so it's a few years old. It doesn't look too bad. It's always garage kept. Let's see, we're going to have, how many hours do we have on this thing? It looks like 382 hours, so I don't do a lot with it. But it's about time for an oil change, so we're going to go ahead and do that today. We've got, first thing we're going to have to do though is clean it up a bit, see if we can get some of the dirt and stuff off of it. We'll do an oil change on it, air filter, fuel filter, see if we can get some of this thing back to good shape. We'll grease up all the fittings, kind of go through my annual service on it, just to kind of lead you through it. So we'll see how all that works. For right now though, we're going to go ahead. I've got to check the oil in my pressure washer. We're going to go ahead and wash that down, and we'll go ahead and open this up. So for your hood, we can turn that, and that snaps it, and we'll pick it up and show you that it's dusty and dirty in here. We'll need to clean our grill off, replace the filter. The battery needs some cleaning up. It's got a little corrosion on it, it looks like. Antifreeze is a little bit low, so we'll go ahead and top that off. Or do you want to try to? I think I've got some. Other than that, a quick inspection. We'll continue on, try to get some of the leaves and limbs and whatever out from it. See how much we can get that cleaned up. So I think the pressure washer should help take care of some of this grease. I grease it every 10 hours. Sometimes a little bit more, because I definitely use the old tractor. So we're going to go ahead and fire up the old pressure washer and get it, see if it'll run this spring also. So here we go. Okay, we've got her all cleaned up. I think it's looking pretty good. We'll go ahead and run back through it one more time just to make sure, but a little bit of cleaner on there, rinsed her back off, and I think we've got most of everything back looking pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and let this dry off. Ooh, just a little bit there. I'm going to have to hit that one more time, and that wheel well. But I think we're in pretty good shape overall. It looks a whole lot cleaner than it did. So we'll go ahead and hit the wheel well on that, and then we'll pull it into the shed. And then tomorrow I'm going to swing by the local Kubota dealer, and we'll pick up the air filter, oil filter, fuel filter, all the normal parts and pieces we need for an annual on it, and a little bit of oil. I think it takes about 5 quarts of oil. So we'll get all that tomorrow and go from there. Okay, after I got that all done, of course, I figured probably go ahead and check the air in the tires. That's always a good thing to do in the spring to get it ready to roll. These front tires are listed to be maximum 40 psi. So we got that one topped off, and then my rear tires, which are not loaded tires, they're just air. You can get these things loaded. I did not opt for that, probably should have, but these are listed at 30 psi. So we've got those filled back up, and I think that should have us good to pull it in, let it dry off for the night. I don't know of anything else we're going to do out here today, so just figured I'd throw that on in there before we put it back away. All right, we've got the tractor back in the shop now, and I've raised the hood. I just run it for a little bit. It's been a day or so, so I had to crank it back up, and we run it. Just get the oil warmed up a little bit. Yeah, get that out. That's a little tough. Anyways, you want to get it a little bit warm, just to make sure that it flows a little bit smoother. We've gone down to our local dealer and we've got the oil they recommend. It's 10W30, and this is designed for diesel tractors. So we're going to be replacing that, and then we're going to do the fuel filter, or the oil, excuse me, this is the, fuel, and this is the oil filter and its number that you can look up. And then we're going to also do the air filter. So we'll be doing all those. So now that we've got the tractor warmed up, we're going to need to remove the drain plug from under the tractor. And for that, we're going to use a socket. And this socket, I believe, is a 19 millimeter. So we'll take that, and then on these you have two drain plugs. We've got an oil pan. I keep one under here because I do have a small leak anyways between the frame and the tractor, so that's just to keep it off the floor, and might as well drain it into that. But you can see there's two drain plugs under here. That's a little dark, but there's one here and then there's one here, and it's kind of split, so you'll have to remove both of them. I'll go ahead and we'll break those loose, and then we'll let her drain on out for a little bit. But let's see, they should not be on here real hard anyways. There, we've got it broke loose, and we'll break this one loose. Yeah, and it's a little snug, but we got it. And then, see, they're just finger tight, but I don't like to get oil all over me. So I'm gonna stop, put on a pair of rubber little gloves to kind of protect me a little bit, and then we'll let the two drain. Okay, I added a light to this thing. Maybe you can see a little bit better. We got our pan lined up under here, and like I say, put a glove on because it's going to get a little bit of oil on you. And you remove this one. And threads are long. And as you can see, you're going to get oil on you, so you set that off to the side and move that over just a little bit, and we'll take this one off. Makes it very slick when you're covered with oil. I try not to drop them in the pan because that's a little hard to retrieve them. It's amazing how slick this is with a little bit of oil on your hands. It's almost like this stuff lubricates things. Alrighty, we'll do that. We can let that go ahead and drain into the bucket. We should get about 6 quarts out of it, so hopefully our bucket's big enough to hold all of that. I'll go ahead and take the glove off though, and see if we can get rid of that. Gonna throw that away. I don't think that's much good for anything. And we're gonna go ahead and on the top of our engine, we'll go ahead and loosen the oil cap up, the fill cap, which is back in here. If we can get it loose. Oh, that's a little snug. We're gonna have to get a little wrench on it, but that's where we'll be putting the oil back in, so we'll get a little wrench to it's tightened itself up over time. So we'll just take a crescent wrench and tighten it up on that a little bit. See if we can get it on there. It's a little bit tight. All right. And yeah, that didn't take much that way. So we can go ahead and loosen that up. And what this will do, it allows the air to get in there. I'm just going to leave that loose on top of that. And that should allow that oil to drain a whole lot faster. So we'll see how that does. And like I say, if it does overfill that, I guess we'll be, I've got another drain pan I can slide under there if I need to. Okay, we slid the drain pan one out. That's a little bit full, so I went ahead and slid the other one in, and we'll let that go ahead and finish draining into that. The next thing we'll need to do is we've got to get to our oil filter, which will be located right here beside our fuel filter, which we'll also be changing out. And this one here, we can remove that little guard probably and make it easier. And if you want to do that, there's a little screw here at the end. We can take that off. Like that. And then this end, I don't know if you can see that or not, but right there in the corner, there's another one. We can loosen that up a bit, get that out of our way. And then that gets that guard out of the way for us a little bit later. And we'll just set that off to the side. And now we can get to our oil filter relatively easily. And we'll probably need a wrench to get on that, to get that off of there. I don't imagine I've got the strength to do that. So we're going to go grab us up an oil wrench while that's draining. And it looks like it's doing a pretty good job. So we'll be back when we get the wrench. Okay, grab my oil wrench up. I've got two different styles. There's several different ones. This one is just a strap. And you would just simply take that one and slide it around it, and that will tighten up onto it, and it will spin it off, and that's coming right off without a whole lot of effort. The other style that I have is the end cap one, and that you would just set over the end of it, and sometimes this is useful, and then you can take a ratchet and put it on there. This particular one uses the same size ratchet as my drain plugs. And once it's a little bit loose, it should come right on off. So you spin her off. And I did move my drip pan back underneath there because it's going to drain some oil back out of this. So we'll go ahead and take that, loosen it up, take it off, and we'll just set this off to the side. And we want to make sure that when you do this, that there's a little rubber gasket on here, right here, and you'll see with the new one also, there's a gasket there. You always want to make sure that that is removed with the filter because it's nasty. It's critical that that's off of it before you install the new filter. So we'll go ahead and we'll open up the new filter and get ready to put it on. Okay, I did take a rag and I cleaned the surface off to make sure it was good and clean. Just wiped it down. And then we've got our new oil filter. And before you put that on, I like to take just a little bit of this oil, the new oil, and I'll put a little bit on my finger. And then you put that on the seal. Just get a little coating. Doesn't take a whole lot. And that'll get it ready to go back on. So, all right, let's see here. It's ready to go. There's no need in waiting for anything else. So you put it on and get it started. Be careful, it shouldn't be hard to do at all. And then spin it until it touches down. Okay, and it's just as it starts to do that, we want to take that approximately, if we can get a half a turn out of it, that's what we'll want to do. Let me get my wrench again. So it doesn't take a lot, but it does a little bit just to make sure. So I like to do the wrench, and like I say, about a half a turn is what we're required. So we'll slap that on there, and that's from the point where it touches, and you should be good. So we're going to go a quarter and a half. So that should have that on there plenty good. You put it on much tighter than that, you'll probably never get it back off. So the oil filter's in place. Our oil is about done dripping. So we'll let that go just a little bit more. And we'll get ready to start looking at the fuel filter also. And you can see it's quite dirty. It's ready to be changed. Not really having a problem with it, but we'll want to change it. So we'll get set up to put the plugs back in the bottom and put the oil back in it. Okay, we're back under the tractor now. We're going to go ahead. It's got a slight drip there, but I think we're plenty good. I've cleaned the bolts off. We're going to go ahead and just make sure when you start them that they screw right in and don't cross thread them. Make sure they should start relatively easily. And just, snug tight with your finger. And do the other one. Yeah, they don't always start without any aggravation at all, but all right. Now they didn't really, I don't see any specifications as far as the amount of torque to put on this, but I know about how much it took to get them off. So I'm going to take and try to basically match that, which ain't real hard. But after they're bottomed out, we probably got about a quarter turn or so out of them. And we clean clean the oil up off of them. That way when we fill it back up with oil, we can look under here and make sure that we don't have any drips from it. And that's all we'll need to do for the oil change. Except for get up off the ground, which is probably one of the harder parts of the job. All right. Okay, and as all things go, it's been a while since I've done this, but that is the way you put the oil in there. But I did want to kind of remember that they also did, I should have remembered this, your dipstick is here, and your oil actually can be added right here, which is pulling this out. Makes it a little easier to get a hold of. Still a little awkward to get stuff back in there, but we went ahead and added a bit of oil to it. I've added 5 quarts so far, and we can pull our dipstick out and clean it, which is located right below it. And currently it's showing full, but I think I want to go ahead and it's probably going to take a little bit more, but it's got plenty in there. We'll go ahead and start the tractor up and let the oil get up into the oil filter, which will probably take a bit of it back off again. So we'll just run it for a second, get the oil circulating, and then shut it off and let everything settle down and do a final fill on the oil. Okay, got the thing started up. We definitely want to look to make sure we got good oil pressure. And we'll also look to make sure we're not dripping in the oil. We'll do a little closer down on that. And we'll also do a quick check on our oil filter and make sure it's not dripping. And all looks good there. And so it's run for a minute. So we'll go ahead. It'll just take a minute to get it in the system. We'll shut that back off and we'll let the oil drain back in, and we'll check our dipstick one more time. Okay, now I do like to do this also, properly dispose my old oil. So we're going to go ahead, while we settle in the oil back into the engine, we're going to go ahead and put my funnel into that, and we'll just fill those back up and seal those and get them ready to take to the recycle center. Okay, so just to recap on what we ended up with. In the manual, it does claim that this is should take 6 quarts of oil with the oil filter. Now, that's probably true if it's a fully dry system, I guess. I myself put in the big 4-quart jug I had and 1 quart, so we had 5 quarts is all we put in it. We have run it a little bit and the filter would be full by now, so that should have taken it up, and the oil is exactly full. So apparently we have a little bit of residual in there worth almost a quart just from it being in the tractor. So if it was totally dry, maybe it would take the full 6 quarts. I always like to start out with the a little bit less than what they call for, because it always seems like you'd overfill it if you do it the other way. So that's got that part done. So I think the next thing we're going to do is get the air filter replaced. So we'll go ahead and this is not too bad a job. On your air filter, there's a nut down here. You'll go ahead and just remove that. And we'll set that down. And then this whole system here kind of pulls up out of the way so you can get in here. And at the same time, you'll want to take this up out, and this is your screen in front of your radiator, and we'll just take that and kind of knock dirt off of that. We'll have to do that a little bit more too. And then we'll go ahead and get the air filter out in just a minute. Okay, I had that out, and now I've taken a vacuum and cleaned and blown all this out, got all the radiators cleaned up. So now we can go ahead and set this back in into its groove. And next is going to be to get the air filter out of this one, which is just to unclip a couple of them and then pull this cover off. And note that the spout right here will go back downward looking. That's way if there's any water gets in there, it'll flow back out. And this one is definitely needing it, but you just pull it on out and set that off to the side. Okay, the new filter's in, and we've reclipped these. They're usually a little bit snug when you first put them back in there, but run that thing back around, and like I say, make sure your drain, don't put that in upside down. That's if any water or anything does get in there. It'll flow back out that, so keep it facing in a downward flow, and then set this back in place, and we'll bolt her back down, and that'll be good for the air side of it. Okay, try as I may, I still ended up getting oil on the floor. All right, so I've always found to wipe it up with a rag, and the next best thing, I actually keep this around here. You can use the oil dry, which is what I put in there to soak it up for the loose stuff. But then I go in here and I just take regular old cement, just the regular full flavor cement, and you take that and you dust that over that, and let that set for a day, and we'll come back here tomorrow, and that should just about remove all that oil. It'll soak right up into that concrete, and then just wipe that away, and that'll take care of the stain so we don't have so many on the floor. Just a quick tip for you. Okay, next is going to be our fuel filter, and in the manual it does say that it's best to try to do this, cleaning the fuel filter with a half a tank of fuel. I'm just a hair over, so hopefully that won't create a big problem. But we're going to go ahead and do this. It's been a while since I've done this, so I'm hoping this goes off. As I recall, last time did not create me a whole lot of trouble. And as far as bleeding the system back out or anything like that. So here's our fuel filter. We're going to go ahead and replace that. And when it gets done, we might have to bleed the system. And this is the bleeding port here, which we'd have to use. They said that if you remove this and the fuel should shut off when you pull the filter off of here, it should stop running, but the back return valve, which would be this, would maybe, if your tank is over half full, might bleed back into it. and then we'll clean that up. And I like to go ahead and fill it up with diesel before I put it back on there, and that leaves a whole lot less to think about having it, needing to bleed a whole lot out of it, because it'll be full of fuel again. So we're going to see how that works by taking it off. Okay, let's see how this is going to go. We're going to take this just to catch any extra. And we should be able to just grab a hold of this, loosen it up. Make sure it's going to stop running before we go too far. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to stop and regroup on this. Yeah, this don't look good. I think we're going to have to lower the fuel in that. So, we found out that's not a good way to do it. We're going to have to drain some more fuel before we can do the fuel filter. So we'll run the tractor for a little bit more and do this on the next project, I think. We'll just let this slide. But we'll catch it up next time as a separate video, and we'll be all right with that. So, but that definitely is not going to be able to be changed if it continues to flow like that. There's no way I can get it off and back on quick enough. So we'll call that quits for now. Okay, our fuel filter we were unable to do because of the, we need a little less fuel in the tank so it doesn't feed back at us. So we'll save that for another day. But I do need to do the lubrication on this tractor, and finding all those fittings, sometimes a little tricky. We're going to kind of go over this. We're going to use, everything pretty much just says use a general purpose grease. And we've got our grease gun. And we're going to start pretty much right here, and about the end of every shaft on your front it's going to have a fitting there. And up on this end of it, you'll have another one up into there. And let's see if we can capture all of them. That one. And down at this end is on the inside here. And one on the inside down at the bottom. And then those will all be duplicated over on the other side. And then when we get to this is a four-wheel drive version of this tractor. Underneath here, we'll be able to find most of these do not have any grease fittings, so those are all sealed bearings. But you do have a fitting right here for this portion here. Let's see if I can get you. So we will need to grease that. And that's pretty much all. The rest of this is filled with fluid, which will change here not too long. Another 20 hours of running or so, I think hits our 400-hour mark. So we'll go through that process when it gets here. And then as we look some more, we will come under here and on this, we're looking for any grease fittings, and let's see if we can kind of get you one. There's a grease fitting there. There's a grease fitting, let's see here. If I can kind of get this upside down here a little bit. Right here. And I think that's the only, there might be another one right, yes, right here. So you'll have two on this side. And each lever that comes down here will have one, so you'll want to get both of those. I don't think we had any others under here that we would need to worry about at this point on that side. And I think that back here you'll have one on your link arm here that you put a little bit of lubrication on. And I think that's about it, unless I find another one that I forgot about. We're going to go ahead and grease those up. Now, as far as the grease goes, it's not really too difficult to grease them. I am going to put a glove on just because I don't like to have the grease everywhere all over me. There we go. And then make sure that before you get started, you go ahead and make sure that the end of your grease gun is cleaned off with a rag. And then each fitting, when you go to do it, and I just power wash this tractor, so all mine are pretty clean anyways, but you do want to make sure you don't have any dirt on the top of those. Make sure they're good and clean before you try to pump grease, because we don't want to push the dirt into the valve. And then from there, we're just going to set that on there. And you kind of want to do this one-handed. This could be a little tricky holding the camera and that at the same time. But we set that down onto that fitting, and then if it's attached there properly, give it a couple of pumps, and yeah, I need to seal that. I can't get it with one hand. But anyways, give it a couple pumps and we should see a little bit coming out here. So we're going to try to set that off and see if we can get that to sit in there a little bit better. Okay, once you get that seated on there, you should be able to pump that a couple times. And we're kind of just going to look to make sure if we can focus on this a little bit. You should pump that a couple times, and you'll start to see there on the right hand side, the grease will start to pile up down into that hole. Once you see that grease, then you've put enough on there. You can go ahead and pull that loose. Set the grease gun off to the side, and then go ahead and clean your fitting back up again. You don't want all that grease just sitting around. And we'll continue around and do each fitting if you can, and get all the grease on there. This thing doesn't focus real easy on that. But that's all there is to greasing up the tractor. So we'll go ahead and hit all the joints. If I find any other ones to tell you about, we'll add those to it. Okay, we got grease in all the fittings. They, like I say, some of them you'll be able to see what you got in them. Others, if you keep up with it, it's pretty much every, just a couple of good pumps on it, and you're probably good to go. They recommend all this front end loader stuff, I believe every 10 hours. You need to lubricate that. And I think up underneath the front end and around those other joints, I think that's every 40 hours. So I do it pretty much, go through, and I don't think you can give it too much grease. So I would do it at least that much if you can, especially if you're running it hard and working it hard. So next thing I think we need to do in the inspection was my antifreeze is just a little bit low, I believe. So I'm going to check and see exactly what that level is. Can't see it very well. And see if we need to add a little bit there. And I think we're getting pretty close to done as much as we can do for this service. But let's check the antifreeze, see what that is. Okay, we've got the light on it now, and yes, we are a little bit low on this level. So the manual says to add some antifreeze, just general maintenance antifreeze. Now, the only thing I do know from past experience, you do want to kind of make sure you have the general one that will work with it, and you don't want to completely fill your system with antifreeze. You want to have it mixed with a certain portion of water. Now, we're just going to top this off, so we're going to just go ahead and use a general antifreeze, add back in here to get it back up to the full level. So we're going to take the cap off of this. If I can get it, I got to reach. Sometimes this front end loader is really nice to have, but it does slow down the approach on trying to get stuff on and off here. Let me pull that on out. And then try not to make too big a mess. And then go ahead and see if we can reach back in here. And I don't know if I can make this thing easy enough to see or not. I'll kind of set that there. We'll go ahead and run that up to the full line. And that's all that'll take. So we should be in good shape. Like I say, after we run that a little bit, we could test it and see what our temperature would be good to. But like I say, that really isn't that awful much added, so I don't think we have too much to worry about on that. Let's see if I can get this around that. And then put our cover back down on it. And then we are good with that. So we'll continue, see if we have any other inspection items we need to look at. And make sure we're good to go at least for another couple of hours. Like I say, I think about 20 hours from now I'm going to have to drain the hydraulic fluid and do a filter change on it. While we're in here though, we're going to go ahead and see that that's a little bit low on our window there, so we may want to add just a little bit. It's right in the bottom of it. I don't want to add a whole lot because, like I say, in another 20 hours or less, about 18 hours at the 400 mark, we're going to go ahead and swap it all out. So I think we'll just put a little bit in there just to make sure, and that'll go in this rear oil cover here, and that'll take care of that. But that's really about all we have. We'll keep looking it over, but that's pretty much what I do for my annual inspection. And we'll catch up on the fuel filter. Sorry we didn't get that all in today, but we'll run the tractor a little bit, see if we can get the fuel down, and next time it's down below that half tank that they recommend, hopefully that'll keep it from running out all over the place. Hope this has been somewhat helpful in knowing what to do for your inspection and taking care of your tractor. Been a good old tractor. So if you would, please like, subscribe, and comment. They're always welcome. I like to hear from you what else I should show, what you like or dislike about my videos, and we'll try to improve. That's my goal, is to help out and improve my videos to make them as useful as possible for everybody. So that'll do it. Thank you again.